Hi, it's Cory, and this is Let's Play Ukulele Lesson 6, Basic Strumming Patterns. This lesson works along with the Let's Play Ukulele workbook, which is available on my Teachers Pay Teachers, or if you're one of my Patreon members, you have access to the booklet there as well. Let's get started. There are a lot of different strumming patterns, either ones that are really established that are very common or different ones that you can create completely original as well. Today we're going to be looking at 4 really common ones that are great for beginner players. The first one we're going to be looking at is playing on the beat. So what that means is you're going to just be playing a down strum on the beat. For now, we're going to take it in a 4/4 count, which means there's going to be 4 beats per measure, or you're going to count to 4 and then just keep counting the 4. Each time I say a number, you're going to strum down. What that will look like is like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Strumming on the beat works really well, especially if you're just first approaching a new song. For this particular strumming pattern, if you are using the arrows, you're just going to have 4 down arrows. And again, the point of a strumming pattern is that it's just going to keep repeating over and over and over again. If you're using letters, you're just going to be using 4 capital letter Ds to represent this pattern. And if you're using the numbers and pluses system, you're just going to be writing out 1, 2, 3, 4, because as a reminder, the numbers are meant to represent the down strums, while the pluses represent the up strums. Pattern number 2 is playing on the chord change. Now, you might think, why isn't this considered pattern number 1, where you might not be strumming very often? The reason why is, in strumming pattern number 1, playing on the beat, you might have just like 1 or 2 chords for an entire song. Strumming on the chord changes, while it's the first way that I normally recommend people to approach a new song, it can actually be a lot more complicated, especially if you're changing chords frequently. What this looks like is literally just strumming down when a new chord occurs in the song. So to demonstrate this, I'm going to play through a C, a G, an F major, and an A minor, just to show what that would look like. If I'm strumming down just on the chord change, I'm going to strum C, then G, then F, then A minor. If I were to play that on the beat, that would look like this. And then I would repeat. So you can see when moving to strumming on the beat, it ends up being a lot more difficult because I have extra chords involved. But for just on the chord changes, it's a lot more manageable. When playing just on the chord changes, you're only ever going to be playing on a down strum. So depending on what the example looks like, you might have just down arrows and they would be placed directly under the chord that you're changing to. If you're playing with letters to represent your strumming pattern, it'll be the same thing, except for rather than an arrow, it will be a capital letter D under the chords that you're changing under. And then finally, for the numbers, it'll be the same thing where the chord and the strum will line up, but you'll have the number. Now, this can be a little trickier and it will depend on the beat that it falls on. So for instance, say I just used C and F. If I were counting 1, 2, 3, 4, you can see that my strum would line up under 1 for C, then I have 2, 3 for F, 4. The next strumming pattern that we're going to be talking about is the subdivided strumming pattern. This is a combination of up and down strums that really just kind of liven things up. Often you'll play a subdivided pattern when something's happening quickly in a song, or if you're just wanting something to sound a little bit more interesting. The general pattern sounds like this. Now, I use that same C, G, F, A minor pattern, but even if I just had it on the Cs, it would sound like this. Now, if I were to write this with arrows, I'd have down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up with my arrows. If I was doing this with letters, I'd have D-U, 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 D-U. And if I had it with numbers, it'd be 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. I think it's really important to know how to play something with the subdivision, because often when you're subdividing, even if you're not going to play on the subdivision, it helps you for more advanced strumming patterns down the road. Speaking of advanced strumming pattern, it brings us to number 4. This strumming pattern is the down, down, up, up, down. Now, what's really great about this pattern is you can fit it into a ton of different songs, and it gives you a general kind of ukulele vibe to playing. For this pattern, you're going to be using both down and up strums. Remember what I was talking about with thinking in terms of subdivision with your advanced strumming patterns? That's what I want you to think about with this one. Rather than playing on every single little subdivision, you're going to be thinking in your head. So while we work on this, I want you to keep that down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. And you might even want to take your hand and just tap on your chest. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, D-U, 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 D-U. And just have that inner little ticking talk in your mind. For this, we're gonna go down, down, up, down. So you're gonna be skipping a couple things, but essentially what you're doing is you're just removing a few downs and ups. So what I'm gonna do to show you what I mean about how the subdivision counts in here, I'm gonna strum the down, down, up, down pattern, but I'm gonna say 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, counting it out. 1, 2, here we go, and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 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 and. So you can still hear that pattern of down, down, up, down, but I'm still counting like it is the subdivision. It's gonna keep your pattern a lot more smooth. So if you're using the arrow method, you're gonna have down, and then you're gonna wanna make sure to have a little bit of space, because when you're using a combination of down and up, you don't want them right next to each other. So in your example page in your workbook, leave a box between your two downs. So you're gonna have down with the arrow blank, down again, and then an up in the next box, then blank, and then up and down, and the last box is going to be blank. Thinking of it in terms of subdivision is going to make it really easy for you. If you're using the letter purposes, it's going to be D blank, D, U blank, U, D blank. If you're using the number system, you're going to have 1 blank, 2 and blank, and 4 blank. At this point in the strumming patterns, you probably are starting to notice that you have a bit of a preference for how you like to write out your strumming patterns. Really make sure you're thinking about that, especially going into the next few exercises and lessons, because often the way in which you think about your strumming pattern, it's going to really shape how you play later down the road. I will see you next time in lesson 7, the C major chord.